Penguin Random House Audio presents Theft, winner of the Nobel Prize in Literature, by Abdulrazak Gurnah. Read for you by Ashley Jangaja. In a general way, it's very difficult for one to become remarkable. Joseph Conrad, Chance. Part 1. 1. Raya's marriage happened in a panic. Her father found out that a young man was paying unmistakable attention to her, at first with long looks and knowing smile as he walked by. Then he saw with his own eyes how the young man stopped her in the street and held her in conversation for several minutes, probably making impossible promises and arranging an assignation. This all happened in front of him. It was improper and ill-mannered behavior, and disrespectful to him, the father. He knew who the young man was, which was why the attentions to Raya alarmed him. It would have been even worse if he was a stranger, of course, but this was calamity enough. His name was Rafiq, and he had grown up a boy familiar and ordinary, the son of neighbors with whom scarcities had been shared over the years, who ran up and down the streets with other boys and played football with them on the beach. Then, in the upheavals and confusions of the struggle to rid themselves of the British, he joined the Comrades, as they called themselves, and became a member of the Umma Party. Along with other comrades, he was sent to Cuba for military training, under the noses of the British colonial authorities, who either could not see the meaning of this excursion, or could not care less. They were ready to go home. Rafiq returned more handsome than ever, transformed into a heroic, slender warrior in a solid green khaki uniform and wearing a hard round cap, unlike any they had seen before. He and the other comrades were back just in time to participate in the revolution and its aftermath. The warriors of that time, of whom Rafiq was then one, only knew how to terrify people, since there really was no enemy in sight, just scared, browbeaten citizens. Even that word, citizen, was in dispute, and one which the heroes liked to play with. So you think you are a citizen? Let's see your birth certificate. What do you mean you don't have one? Many people of a certain age had not bothered to get one, so the paper was only requested if the desire was to humiliate or to intimidate, or very often both. What kind of bloodsucker are you, pretending to be a citizen? It was all part of the joy of power, to chasten, to terrify, or to expel at will. In any case, Rafiq came back from Cuba resplendent in his uniform and the cap that Fidel Castro loved to wear, or as a variation he wore a black beret like Che Guevara, greeting his comrades with salutations that were new to everyone but would soon become familiar. Venceremos, la lucha continua, vamos. He also started casting glances at Raya and talking with her in the street while he wore a playful smile. Anyone could see what he was up to. She was 17 years old and beautiful, and he was now notorious for messing up young women. I don't like the way he was talking to you. You know what these people are like, her father said angrily. Don't try to fool me. Usindanganye. I saw you smiling at him as if you liked his talk. He is after you. Couldn't you see that? He will disgrace you. He will shame all of us. Raya started to protest. What was she to do? She could not pretend not to know him. She did not want to offend him. Her father swiped his arm through the air, signifying that he required her to be silent, and then waved her away out of his sight. He consulted with his elder brother, Hafid, who was just as fearful of shame as he was, and would understand his panic about Rafiq's interest in Raya. They kill our sons, and then look to dishonor our daughters, Hafid said. They both understood what he was talking about. The brothers looked desperately around for who could save her, save everyone from humiliation and disgrace. Her father usually sought out his brother's sagacity when it suited him, or when he needed to borrow money, or both, as on this occasion. For any arrangement they were to come up with was certain to require money to pay for celebrations and gifts and food. Raya's father was not blessed with a skill for making money, as his elder brother was, and he was generous with it. The person they found for her was Bakari Abbas, an amiable man in his 40s, who lived in Pemba, previously divorced and of respectable means. He was a building contractor, and acquaintances who were contacted spoke well of him, and so Raya's parents arranged her life with him. When her father told her, in that saddened, self-pitying way he adopted when he wanted to persuade her or her mother to agree with him, she did not think there was any real choice. Either accept the arrangement that would preserve the respectability and honor of her parents and herself, or choose the hooligan soldier. It did not occur to anyone but her to ask if she might have chosen to take her chances with the hero. She suppressed that thought, and did not mention it to anyone. Everything had gone too far for that, and maybe it would all turn out well. So it was that her father, who was physically frail but domineering by temperament, made Raya agree to a marriage that she feared she would hate. That was how she had been brought up, and how everyone she knew lived their lives. She endured the sudden, intense preparations and the advice of aunties and other people she hardly knew, who washed her and stroked her and fed her the lore of obedience to male lust, who whispered how being cherished would ripen and inflame her, how the affectionate attentions of a husband would fulfill her world, and how God would bless the outcome. Then, on the night of her capture, she lay in the bed of Bakari Abbas and knew for the first time the shock of eager, overbearing flesh upon her unresisting body. She could not resist, not that night, nor the nights that followed, because she had been instructed not to. It was his right, and her duty required submission. Bakari Abbas was a man in his 40s, of personable, even pleasing appearance, wiry and strong, and of middle height, well over 5 foot. He was amiable to the world, a man of business, with the effortless courtesy and flourishes of someone of his profession. But to Raya he was sometimes curt, and he was relentless in his demand for her body, every day, sometimes 2 or 3 times in a day. What at first was strange and frightening grew increasingly crushing and somehow humiliating. But she submitted, because she did not know what else to do. She told herself that this was how it was for every woman, to endure the energetic invasions that were necessary to satisfy her husband's need, and to find what pleasure she could for herself. She could have been more artful, could have feigned enjoyment to temper his desire for her surrender, but she was too young and too repelled. She could not help cringing while he took his pleasure, her face puckered and her eyes closed tight. He laughed to see her quailing so, and tried to cajole her with soft whispers and little kisses. And when that did not work, he became adamant for her to respond more joyfully to his exertions. Her reluctance and mute resistance made him determined to awaken her, as he put it. She came to know his smile at such moments. "Come, my bulbul. Give me one small groan of pleasure," he murmured to her, as he pounded his bony pelvis on the soft flesh of her widespread thighs. She learned to make it easier for herself, to evade pain by preparing her body to receive him. She learned to acquire some control, so she was not always at his mercy, to delay and postpone, and to feign enjoyment. She said no when she could, and fought back when he rebuked her, returning vicious abuse to his hectoring threats. It was a nightmare she could not tell anyone about. There were times when she wondered if she might have done better with handsome Rafiq, but she already knew how badly that would have ended. Rafiq had been shot dead in a bloodletting orgy that happened a year after her wedding. The bickering with Bakari went on for what seemed like forever to Raya, and seemed to get worse after the birth of her son Karim. Bakari grew increasingly impatient with her reluctance to let him lie with her so soon after giving birth. and his rages when he was thwarted were out of control. The reports of his amiability.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?